Hey everyone, so if you've seen my post about school and stuff a few weeks ago, you know I haven't uploaded in a while. So I don't want this video to be on how school is, but instead about times there almost was no school, forever. Yeah, I'm going to talk about times that nuclear bombs were almost launched or exploded. To begin, during the Cold War, the main character of this story is Vasily Arkhipov. He was the commodore of a fleet of submarines during the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he was stationed on the submarine B-59 just off the shore of Cuba in international waters. Then, a few United States Navy destroyers and the aircraft carrier USS Randolph found them, and as you may have guessed, they weren't too good of pals, so even though they were in international waters, the ships decided to launch signaling depth charges, which were meant to force a submarine to resurface so that they could be identified. But the B-59 began trying to evade the American ships, and because there was no contact with their superiors in Moscow and they were too deep to monitor any radio traffic, in the chaos, some on board thought war had already broken out. So the captain of the submarine, Valentin Govorovich Savitsky, decided that war might have broken out. Now, I'm not in charge of a nuclear submarine, but I think ending the world should mean a bit more confidence than might. But because he felt like there might be a nuclear war, he wanted to launch a nuclear torpedo. But unlike most things on a submarine, this had to be approved by all three officers. So two officers decided that they wanted to pull a Civilization Gandhi and launch their extinction ball. But thankfully for us, the Chad Vasily didn't fall into peer pressure and decided not to launch the torpedo. And because of his decision, the torpedo did not launch, and he single-handedly prevented nuclear war. Now, jumping back to the land of Kalishnikov, Pepsi, and Adidas track pants, or the Soviet Union, let's look at another time. In 1983, Stanislav Petrov was stationed at the Oko nuclear early warning system in the Soviet Union. His job, or as most on Twitter would put it, twinkle emoji completely voluntary aiding of the communal workforce twinkle emoji ACAB kill all men, was to see if there was a nuclear attack coming from the US and then tell his superiors so that they could respond to said attack. For those of us confused about what that means, back in the day of the Soviet Union, it meant to launch all or most of their ICBMs, or intercontinental ballistic missiles, and destroy all of humanity in the process. But as you may have guessed from, being alive, this didn't happen, so there weren't many times where Russia almost became a follow game with less glitches. Key words in that sentence weren't many. On September 26, 1983, 2 weeks after the Soviet Union had shot down Korean Airlines Flight 007, killing Congressman Larry McDonald, meaning that tensions were heightened. Well, I mean, tensions were always heightened, but they were even more heightened now. Stanislav Petrov was waiting at the early warning base, then suddenly, hey man! Well, hey, Mr. Early Warning System. Hey, so, the USA doesn't like you, and basically they're launching 5 nukes right now. Anyway, probably should do something about that. Bye! So the early warning system had said that America had launched 5 nuclear missiles, and his job was to tell his superiors, which would have, of course, resulted in a full-scale nuclear war. But then Stanislav Petrov decided that he wasn't going to, because he thought if the United States was going to launch an attack on the Soviet Union, then they would do it with all their weapons, and 5 seemed like an odd place to start. So he took a gamble that the early warning system was wrong, and thankfully he was right. It was later found that the Soviet satellite that had been feeding him information had mistaken reflections from clouds for missiles. Now going to the land of the free and the home of paranoia, the USA, let's look at a similar incident that occurred in 1979. On November 9th, 1979, technicians at a NORAD base in Colorado, which means North American Aerospace Defense Command, received a message saying that there was a massive barrage of missiles coming from the Soviet Union. Now this wasn't just 5 missiles as was seen by Stanislav Petrov. No, this was more than 2,000, acting and being fired like the military assumed they would be, all coming for the United States. The SAC, or Strategic Air Command, was notified, putting everyone at the highest alert possible. After that, the National Security Advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who I can only imagine had a great time telling people how to pronounce his name, decided to hold off on telling President Jimmy Carter about the impending attack, just to make sure that the threat was 100% real. After 6 minutes, satellites confirmed his belief that there was no attack, and it was later found that a technician had accidentally inserted training material used to train people for what an impending nuclear attack would be like into one of the computers, giving the base a perfect recreation of what an impending nuclear attack would look like, and again bringing us to a point where nuclear war almost happened. Now let's go 1 year into the future, into a time when a nuclear warhead was fired from a silo. So here's what happened, okay? On September 18th, 1980, a light came on a Titan II missile that said there was low oxidizer. So 2 engineers responded by going to do a routine maintenance on the missile. But during that, they had to unscrew a 9-pound fuel cap, and by accident, it fell 70 feet and hit a thrust module, which resulted in rocket fuel gushing out of the rocket. This effectively made the silo into a barrel, the rocket fuel into gunpowder, and the nuclear warhead into a projectile. Then, a few hours later, the fuel exploded, which then fired into the dark September night and landed roughly 100 feet away from the complex. Thankfully, the safeties held together so the bomb did not detonate. But there was another time when a nuclear bomb came very close to detonating near a US city. That being on July 24th, 1961, when a B-2 bomber was flying over North Carolina carrying 2 hydrogen bombs. But before we go into the story, let's do a quick representation of what basically happened. I don't think that should be happening. Oh, oh, oh no, oh god no, drop the nukes, we're gonna crash. That's basically what happened, minus, the bomb going off. The plane was flying over North Carolina when it suddenly began to break apart midair, so they dropped two bombs, one breaking apart because the parachute failed, and the other one landing safely intact. It was then later found that 5 out of the 6 safety mechanisms designed to stop the bomb from exploding had failed in the intact bomb, and Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, who, by the way, was one of the 4 people that no one knew in Call of Duty Black Ops Zombies, brackets 5. I mean, most people knew who Fidel, loved ice cream and cannot be killed Castro, John, open-minded progressive Kennedy, and Richard, campaign buttons make people chuckle Nixon, but no one really remembers the final character. But hey, now you know who he is. Anyway, Defense Secretary Robert McNamara said that by the slightest margin of chance, literally the failure of 2 wires to cross, a nuclear explosion was averted, in reference to the disaster. Well, those are just some of the times when the world almost came to an end. If you enjoyed this video, then consider subscribing. I don't upload too much, so it really helps me. It also gives you the power that if I ever make a spicy joke or comment that you don't like, you can unsubscribe as a form of protest. If you liked this video, then please like, and if you didn't, dislike. Both give me feedback on what to do in the future. I also have a Twitter account if you want to go follow that, just to see when I'm going to upload a video, or if you just want to talk about the talk about the economic policies of the USA. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I hope you're having a great day, and if you're not, I just want to let you know that you're never alone, and I really hope tomorrow's better. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, or found it interesting, or just made your day a bit better. That's about it. Bye.